Hello, it's Radka again and all about projects. After my previous video in which I interviewed Alena Damborska about her experience with individual fellowship, I thought there might be some people out there who are interested in a little bit more details related to the call that is at the moment open. So Alena mentioned in the interview that she actually applied for the call in 2016. Now we are in 2023, so it's no longer Horizon 2020, but it's Horizon Europe. And there are some changes, some updates, so it is always good to follow the up-to-date guidelines that are related to the possible projects you would like to apply. So without further ado and too long introduction, let's have a look where we can find more information about the call and how to go on if you are not familiar with the scheme and if you would like to apply. So before I will open the web page on the internet, I just would like to kind of summarize what it is all about. It's one of the few opportunities which you will have in your career to get funding only for your individual project. So not a large team involved. It will be really focused on you. So I highly recommend to try, because even if the competition is really strong and it's difficult to win it, it is really prestigious. That's number one. So if you get the funding, it's wonderful. And the second thing is that even if you don't get funded, you learn a lot by writing this project proposal. And again, based on my practical experience, many people who applied for this funding somehow got financed later. It might have opened different gates. They might have introduced themselves as people who are willing to undertake a little bit more effort than the rest of the researchers. So they stood out from the competition, and it always somehow changed their kind of career path. So I would always recommend, if you have no experience with writing projects so far, but if you are really just like Alena, if you know what you would like to do, and if you feel like your career is ripe to go further, to go somewhere, for international research experience, then this is really a great scheme to apply for. So, as I said, without further ado, let's have a look on the web pages which I have prepared for you. And I will just show you where to find the most relevant information, because what I think is quite important is not to lose yourself at the very beginning. Sometimes we tend to get overwhelmed by the enormous amount of materials that are at the moment available. So I will just show you how not to lose yourself in this huge amount of data that are out there. So let's have a look on the web page where you can find information about the call. So this is, as you see, I'm again on the official webpage of the European Commission. I have already mentioned this webpage in some of my previous videos. And as you see, the call is called Postdoctoral Fellowship 2023. There is this part here is called identification of the call, but you don't have to know the name of the call or this specific number. You can always go to Google and just, you see, I have already prepared and typed here Postdoctoral Fellowships 2023, Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions. This is the key term you are going to work with all the time. Just press the key and it is going, as you see, to navigate you to the official webpage of the European Commission. So you will end up around the place where I have been before. So you see Marie Sklodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowship, and at the bottom of the page, they will just navigate you for further details of the call. So you will always get to the webpage where I was. You see? So only there are some more warnings. So I'm going to switch off these two, and I'm going further to describe what is important on this web page. So the crucial information number one is the deadline, 13th of September. So be careful, and now at the moment it's really highest time to start preparing your project proposal. And again, remember, Alena, it is not about typing your project. You really need to collect a lot of information to decide what is going to be your strategy, how you are going to, well, implement your project, achieve your objectives in a way how you are going to form your project, what kind of story you are going to create in your project proposal. And to write a good story, you really need to think a lot of things over, because what is important is that these type of projects, even though you kind of apply them as an individual research project, they still involve a lot of other players, your supervisor, your colleagues, institution that is going to host you. And all these other players need to be seen in your proposal, and you need to show to the evaluators what they will gain from hosting you. So this is, again, something you really need to think over and discuss with your hosting institution. And you really can't create this story just from behind your desk. You really need to know your hosting institution. So again, this was the reason why I asked Elena to record the video with me, because you could see how much it helped her, that she already had some short stays with the institution, that she already knew the environment. So it was much easier for her to imagine how it all will work in future. And even though, even in this situation, it was a bit challenging sometimes. So you could see that when she actually got funded and when she moved to France, she had to arrange quite a lot of things. So within a month, she still wasn't prepared entirely to kind of take her family to the place, but she already had to start work. So again, this was one of the reasons why I think is so important to share experiences, because if you have never done anything like this before, sometimes you can't imagine what kind of all activities need to be included into you thinking about your project story, you thinking about what I am going to do, how I am going to perform my research within the institution I have never worked for, or I have probably spent just some kind of short time there. So it's a big thinking challenge. And before you start to do this, you really need to put your mind into the context of the kind of requirements that are being presented to applicants from the side of European Commission, from the side of funding authority. This is, again, one really important thing you must never forget. Always see the funding authority as someone who has money and want to achieve something with that money. And what they want to achieve with that money is always described in the call for proposals. So this is the reason why call is always crucial, because over there you get in the most details what are requirements from the funding authority. So before you start to think about your project story, you really need to understand the framework within which you are going to place this story. So it is, again, very similar to writing a novel or writing any kind of prose. You need to understand your target audience. You need to understand why they would be interested in reading your text. In this case, you ask yourself, why would they be interested in funding my research and advancement in my career? So you need to see yourself, your research, and your career from the perspective of the funding authority. In this case, the call tells us the most details, what they expect from you. So number one, the first section, and I have to highlight that at this moment, you will really face up to 3 pages of text. So this is really user-friendly. I know it is going to be challenging, particularly if you have no experiences with this specific language. And again, use the comment section if you are interested in explaining some of the words, some concepts you don't understand. Feel free really to post your questions to the comments, and I'm going to address these topics in some later videos, because I think there are so many things I could address, but without any kind of feedback, it is really difficult. So back to the call page. You see, in the first section, they describe the topic. What is the topic of the call? And if you look at this, they already tell you a couple of things. They expect that these projects will bring output or outcome, not only for the supported fellows, meaning you applying for this project, but also for the participating organizations. And they will somehow navigate you in the directions where they expect these outcomes. So sometimes you might think, well, these words, they are just so abstract, so general, but they use these words in order to give you as much space as possible. It's just kind of like telling you, this is the strategy. We want you to become this kind of researcher, and later they will give you a little bit more details on what they mean behind these abstract words. But this is important part, which quite a lot of people with whom I collaborated sometimes forget, that the outcome should be also related to the hosting institution. So again, to evaluate the outcome, the influence your project might have for the hosting institution means that you need to understand a bit about this hosting institution so that you can really provide evaluators and also, of course, yourself and your project story with some kind of, reliable and relevant information that will be, in favor to your host institution as well. So I'm not going to go into too many details because otherwise this would be too long. I just want to tell you, really, even though it sounds like it's empty, it's abstract, no, please, really, every word that is written here has some specific meaning behind it and should affect the structure of your project proposal. So again, more questions. If you have more questions, just put them in the comments, and otherwise I'm just going further. So you see, both subjects involved in your project should have some kind of outputs. They also tell you that there are 2 types of fellowships you can apply for in this section. Number 1, European Postdoctoral Fellowships, and these are types of projects that you are going to submit in case you would like to be hosted by an institution that is located in European Union. So this is, you see, either coming to Europe from any country in the world or moving within Europe. So you could be someone from India, England, Australia coming to Europe, or you could be someone from one of the countries within the European Union and you could go to another country. So in my case, I'm from the Czech Republic and I could go anywhere across the Europe apart from the Czech Republic. But there are also some kind of mobility rules, and they will just tell you that this means that you didn't spend some longer period in previous, I think, 3 years before your submitting the call your project in the country where the host institution is localized. So again, you will get more details, but be careful. Again, this European Postdoctoral Fellowship is about international mobility. So you go out of your home country to Europe, and be careful if you spend more time in this new coming country, there might be some limits. So check for this. The second type of fellowships is Global Postdoctoral Fellowship, and this type of fellowship you would apply for if you want to go outside of European Union. So in this case, it could be, for example, you going to America, you going to Australia, somewhere in Africa or Japan, for example. And these global fellowships differ from European fellowships, number 1, in length, because the first type of projects is up to 24 months long, while the global fellowship is up to 36 months. And out of these 36 months, you are expected to stay 12 months back in the European Union. Again, the reason for this is that you don't stay with your new knowledge. in the other countries outside the European Union, but you bring the knowledge you learn outside the European Union back to the European Union. So there is always this compulsory incoming stage lasting 12 months in this type of fellowships. As you see, whatever is written here is really relevant to your project. So they tell you that you are also eligible to plan secondments within your project. So again, whenever they recommend something, it is there because they think it might significantly affect your skills or your knowledge. It's a tool to improve your ability to perform research and be a better researcher in future. So think about these secondments as a tool that could help you to improve your research project as such, but during which, apart from new research knowledge related to part of your big research question, you should also learn new skills, and most of the time transferable skills. So what is highly usually supported are secondments in different sectors, so that you learn how to collaborate not only in your own sector, usually it is research or academia. So if you have an opportunity or idea that somehow your project could benefit from when you collaborate with some external institution, no problem. You have here space for the secondments going outside of your host institution. It's a kind of official tool. There are a couple of rules related to it, but it's not only suitable and acceptable, but it is recommended to include it into your strategy, just because it means that your 2 years project is going to be enriched by experience from different environment and different institutions. So again, it's like cooking an excellent dinner, and then you just use a specific toppings or something that makes it even better, that brings even more value. So always see every secondment you need to evaluate based on value it brings to your project. So when we go further, as you see, they give you more details about placements in a non-academic sector. So again, this is something that is being supported quite a lot. And it's related to the fact that simply, number one, research needs to collaborate with other sectors. And number two, there are simply not enough positions within research sector. So because Horizon Europe is quite realistic, so they try to provide young researchers also with opportunities to learn more about non-academic sector, to be able to enter this sector later in their career stage and probably collaborate more efficiently with research or academia, or even introduce research knowledge into non-academic sector. So you see, this in total is a text for about 1.5 pages. They also tell you that they expect from you to create some kind of career development plan. And if you are not certain about what it exactly means, they will tell you a little bit more details later. But so far, you kind of get basic ingredients into the framework of your future thinking related to your project. So what all I need to include into my project soup so that it would be acceptable for the funding authority. So as I said, it has to be international mobility, either within the European Union or outside. That's acceptable. They tell you, okay, go to your host institution, but we think it could be nice if you also involve some other organizations that have something to say to your topic that might both enrich your research activities and you as a human being, because you learn some new perspective, you learn about new environments. So it will not only bring new knowledge for your research, but it will make you advance further in your research career. And they also tell you, well, look, you are here to advance your career. So we ask you, tell us what is the state of the art in terms of your career and where you see yourself after those 2 years and even after your project is finished. And based on where you see yourself or what kind of researcher you would like to be, tell us what you want to improve, how you want to improve, where you will gain this knowledge, and so on. So generally always ask yourself, what does it mean, how it is related to both my research and advancement of my career. What I always suggest and recommend to my clients is never ignore these kind of comments below the line, because here you always get more details related to those abstract or unknown terms which you might experience in this previous text. So for example, you see here they talk about widening country. Do I know where is widening country? What does it mean? So you see they give you a list of countries here which are called widening. And at the moment, you don't need to understand why they are called widening, but it's good to know that there is something like widening country and that you might profit from the fact that you would like to go for a fellowship to a widening country. Because generally, the problem is that there are some countries within the European Union that are not participating enough in Horizon Europe. And this is a kind of initiative from the European Union trying to kind of enhance participation within these countries. So they have a specific budget allocated within the core. And generally, the success rate is usually a bit higher when you apply for fellowship within the widening country. So if you are, generally, I would say it's the countries that entered the European Union a little bit later on, like 2004 and later. So, well, mostly post-socialistic countries and so on. So anyway, so this is the first part. The second part, where they talk about destination, I would say as a layperson, okay, destination, it's simply where they are heading with this course, or what they would like to achieve. So as you see, they again describe what they would like to get as a kind of global effect by financing lots of small individual fellowships. So when you kind of summarize outputs from all these individual projects, they expect that there will be some greater output for the European Union. But again, returning back at the level of our project, here is important for us mainly that they talk about expected impact. And again, you see, there are lots of words like creative and innovative potential of researchers holding a PhD. So you need, again, to ask yourself questions. Well, what it is, creative and innovative potential, what does it exactly mean? And what is good, so they tell you with this kind of list of abstract words, but most of the times there are, again, some documents related to it, or even if they don't give you some kind of reference documents, I would just say creative and innovative potentials or potential of researchers, put it into Google. If I'm not certain, what does it exactly mean? What kind of skills they are referring to and how to approach this problem, because it is a problem. So, well, at the moment, well, can you measure what is the level of your creative and innovative potential? Can you do it? Can you somehow tell me how you would like to advance in this? Most of the times we don't have vocabulary, even though we might be able to be specific about this concept. But if you are struggling, I always use Google whenever I'm not certain what is behind certain concepts, and it navigates you towards more specific explanations related to this. I will show you a little bit later what kind of documents they refer to when it comes to research skills and these potentials and so on. But anyway, so this is a kind of introduction you start to read. As I said, just print it out. It's 2.5 pages most of the times, and start with trying to identify the sections which you don't understand, because really every word matters here, even though it might look like it does not. But believe me, it is really crucial. So whatever you don't understand, whichever concept you don't understand, either try just Google it, because it's really exercise for a couple of minutes. And while Google search is really excellent and it always navigates you towards better explanations. Or here again, there is the European Union providing you with reference documents and other conditions. So what is great, you see here they have some kind of general conditions, but again, we need to get as specific as possible. So if I am someone who is new, just avoid these general conditions, because at the moment they are just general, and I need specific conditions, specific for this call. Later on, whenever you are not certain about some aspect, you can go to those general documents, but at the beginning, start with the documents that are specific for the call. And here you see in a little bit lower down, that's what is valuable at the beginning. And they give you call-specific documents. Number one, they give you standard application form. I have opened this one for us, and we will see later. So this is the standard application form. Oh gosh, it's here. Standard application form. And they will tell you what kind of sections. There are quite a few pages, as you see, 23 pages related to administrative information. But again, if you have the identification number of your hosting institution, and this identification number is called PIC, and once you add the name of your institution, hosting institution, or this PIC, most of those administrative forms are going to be filled in automatically. Only a couple of them you will have to update based on your specific project. But at the moment, what is important for us when we try to frame our project idea and understand the environment, it's this second part. And as you see, it's part B, technical description. And here they give you more explanations to those 2.5 pages from the call. So I would read the 2.5 pages from the official call. So this is the text here. I would underline what I really don't understand. And the next thing I would read would be this second part from the application form. So this technical description. It doesn't have that many pages. It's usually around 17, 20. And I think 6 or between 6 and 10 pages are dedicated to instructions for drafting. So they give you a bit more details to what was given on the official call page. So wonderful. You are not left alone at the very beginning. I will return to the specific documents because the second important document is standard evaluation form. And this evaluation form, which is here, doesn't have that many pages. In total, again, I will have relevant text on 5 pages, and they will explain you what are the criteria based on which the reviewers are going to evaluate your project. So again, I need to understand the environment of the call that is being set by the funding authority, but it's the reviewers that are going to decide whether my project is relevant for the funding authority and its objectives in relation to the call. So I really need to understand based on what kind of information these people, reviewers, are going to look at my project proposals. So project proposal. So again, you really can't write a good project proposal unless you are aware of how the excellence is defined, what they mean, and what kind of information they will judge when it comes to impact of your project and how the implementation of your project proposal is going to be evaluated. And by the way, I have already, I think, recorded a short video on the difference between excellence, impact, and implementation. So have a look at this one. So 2 crucial documents you need at the very beginning. They also give you a couple of other relevant documents. So there is a work program related to the call, and you can imagine the work program like a building of Marie Sklodowska reactions, and the call is always one room within the building. So again, to understand, sometimes you might get lost in this information related to the call, and you just need to kind of understand all the connected information and the reasons why they set the text of the call they did it the way they did. And the point is that in these additional documents, particularly in the work program, they give you the text of the call to the context, kind of wider context of their strategy, what they want to achieve with money allocated for Marie Sklodowska reactions. So work program is really a kind of text that is going to explain you wider strategy, wider context within which this call is being open. And even though when you open this text, it is going to be, again, quite a thick one, but you will see if you check it and if you look at the structure of the document, most of the text is usually related to the specific calls. So at the moment, I would just look Marie Sklodowska, look up for Postdoctoral Fellowship 2023. And as you see, this text is only about, well, 4 pages long, and it is exactly the text which you saw on the web page. I already introduced you to this part of the work program. But what is important is the introduction and the explanation of the whole program. So as you see, this introduction has just about 5 or 6 pages, and it will help you to understand the framework. It is a kind of explanatory material which is important for you when you want to give meaning to the abstract terminology they use in the call for proposal and in the text of the project form. So this is something, again, 6 pages from the work program, helps you to understand better what they mean by the call and what they expect from the call. So I think this is, for the very beginning, the most important information you need. Later, when you decide you want to start your project submission, as you see, you just choose between global fellowship and those European fellowships, and you just, after you choose one of them, you go on with starting submission, and you get into the portal where you are going to administer your application. But I wanted to give you a couple of more tips where it comes to forming your mind in terms of crafting your project idea. So this is one thing, understanding what the funding agency and the call and the reviewers expect from projects. But still, there's quite a big gap in this interpretation. So what could be quite good is to get more information from the projects that were successful. And this is the moment where Cordis come again in the game. So you might have already seen that I created one more video on how to search on Cordis database. Cordis database is a wonderful tool in which European Commission presents everything that has been funded so far. So as you see, here is information on all the postdoctoral fellowships that were funded in the first call under Horizon Europe. This call was opened in 2021, but because it takes some time before the projects are evaluated and before there are results and before the grant agreements are signed, it means usually that projects funded under this call started in 2022, some of them even in 2023, which means there won't be that much information available in relation to these projects. So I will show you later what I found on Cordis. But before I do that, I just wanted to show you the summary, how this call is going to look like when it comes to deadlines. So as you see, the call was open in April 2023, a couple of days ago. The deadline is September 2023. The results are going to be on 13th of February 2024, and based again on my experience, they are really, most of the times, really researchers get results in February, which is wonderful. So when you plan the starting date for your project, you can already see, okay, it would be possible to start somewhere in June 2024, but it doesn't mean that you have to start on June 2024 because it's just before the holidays, and quite frequently this is a problematic period to start anything. There won't be that many people at universities and so on. So this is flexible. This is up to you whether you want to start with your project. This is the earliest possible day when you can start with your project implementation realistically. But be careful whether it really will work in your situation. You are not pushed by the Commission to start really in June 2024. You can start in September. And again, this is what Cordis is useful for. When you look at the projects and their starting dates, you will see that quite frequently, some of them even started from January next year. So in this case, you could start January 2025 even. It's really up to you. You need to be realistic because those 2 years, well, that's quite a short period in some way. So you need to prepare yourself well for that. So this is kind of most important terms when it comes to the call. And well, that's the end of the overview related to the call as such. And now I would like to look at the Cordis and what we can find there. So as I have mentioned, there is not yet much available when it comes to any postdoctoral fellowship projects that were financed from Horizon Europe. But what is available are outputs and results from projects financed by Horizon 2020, which is the program that was there before Horizon Europe. And some of the projects still even might be ongoing, but most of the time they would be already finished. So when we want to search for some kind of inspiration from the funded projects, you can either, of course, select a Horizon Europe framework program and then Marie Skłodowska-Curie scheme, but you won't get that many details. It will be really just a kind, I already did it, and it was, just an introduction to project, just an abstract summary. But what we might be interested about are deliverables, results, so that we see what kind of quality of outputs is interesting for the Commission and acceptable. And again, if you watched the video on Cordis, you might have already heard this information. I gave an example of a web page, which is quite usual deliverable or output of a project. And it was lovely to see that some people kind of transformed this output into deliverable in the form of long kind of summary of 40 pages. It's a kind of report on how they were making the web page. And the other teams decided just to submit to the Commission a link to the web page, and it was obviously enough. So for this reason, it is important to check deliverables and results, to understand what results and what is the quality of results that is acceptable. Because you, of course, don't want to spend too much time on writing some kind of report on something that was already finished, something like web page, which you can also introduce to the funding authority simply by sending the link. So for this reason, I always recommend Cordis, and whenever I myself try to apply for some kind of funding, I always check what is out there, because it might be inspiration. It might add to your kind of mental capacity when it comes to interpreting what does this all mean, if you of course don't have someone to help you with the project. Well, as you could see in the interview with Alana, it is really crucial to have someone that would help you with this project. But sometimes we are in the situation that we are kind of left alone. And in this case, I think this all what I am now sharing with you might become helpful. So, as I said, not much at the moment in Horizon Europe. So I just, yeah, you can try, but I already tried and I didn't find much. So the better filter was to use the funding scheme, and I hope it is going to work. And if you look a little bit later in the list, you will see that there are Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions. So it is quite good to know that this postdoctoral fellowship scheme was called individual fellowships in Horizon 2020, because this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to look at similar projects that were financed in the previous work program, just to see what kind of results and deliverables might be interesting for the European Commission. And again, it doesn't say that it will be working in the new call, but what it says is if you have no inspiration or no ideas, this navigates you somewhere. It gives you at least some idea, which is sometimes better than no idea at all. So as you see, I got about 9,900 results, which is quite a lot. So what I'm interested at the moment is creativity. So I am just using additional query. I'm adding some more details to my search. And now you see I got only 147 results. What is, again, important here is to see, look, this project started in 2020 and was finished last year. Wonderful. So obviously it is finished. There will be all kinds of results there. Well, and again, from the name of the project, you might already judge whether it is something that is interesting for you and for your topic that you would like to include in your own project proposal. So let's have a look what is available here. Here they give you the project description, and this is something that you will get when it comes to postdoctoral fellowships in Horizon Europe. This is just the general information, which is not that much. They will also give you a project objective, but what is important are reportings and results, because here you can get a little bit more details. So this might inspire you in the area, what kind of deliverables are interesting for the Commission, how those who were successful, for example, implemented their in plan for career development. So all this is going to be included either in reporting or project results. So sometimes you might ask yourself, well, how many articles should I produce in those 2 years? 1, 2, 5? You might know that in your field, for example, because it is quite challenging to create a good article, it might be realistic to submit 1 article after the 2 years. And you might ask yourself, well, is this acceptable for the Commission, or do I have to suggest more articles? But you know that more articles might be risky. So again, well, you might ask, of course, consultants that are available around you. And if you don't have any, or if you kind of are not certain with their replies, this is where to go. Go to Cordis, check the project. And if you see that there are people successful with applications that suggested only 1 article, well, it might be a way for you as well, but check in what kind of context this was acceptable, deliverable, just 1 article, because it doesn't mean every project is specific, it's individual. So you always need to see these deliverables and results in the context of the whole project idea to understand a little bit better the environment of this particular project you might be investigating at the moment, to give you more inputs when it comes to forming your own project idea. So this was the objective of this video, and I hope it's not that short, just to kind of navigate you towards where to get more information when it comes to understanding what the call is about, what is expected from you, what is acceptable for the funding authority, because this is also crucial, not to kind of suggest too many deliverables, too many milestones. Some people in the effort to be really kind of offering as much as possible sometimes overdo it, and too many deliverables or too many kind of outputs, it might mean additional work because you have to send these deliverables to the commission. So you need to be careful not to kind of over administer your project proposal, and understanding where the others were successful, with what kind of approach the others were successful, can always help you. Well, so, and before I will finish, I would like to share with you one more thing. So you might heard in the interview with Alena that she mentioned quite a lot this brochure that has helped her a lot when it came to her own thinking about the project concept and later writing. And it was fun because a week ago she sent me, the title from this booklet, and I found out that her resource was exactly the same as mine. So in my career, I had two great inspirations where it came to the quality of project writing. And these two people were Sean McCarthy from Hyperion, not certain how to pronounce it. And the other person was Lotte Jaspers from Yellow Research. So it was quite fun to see that her booklet was originally from Lotte Jaspers from Yellow Research. And, this is something I would highly recommend you, because people like Sean or Lotte, they spend so much time by, analyzing, understanding the environment. So things that I have just now tried to introduce you to, they do it constantly for, I don't know, a couple of decades already, 30, or I think Sean even longer than 30 years. So they really understand the environment. They understand how the reviewers think. They interview a lot of people. So I really highly recommend you, if you want to get excellent inspiration and you don't have any good consultant around you, like Alena mentioned that she had someone in her home institution who was her partner in the writing process, who was asking her questions, who was navigating her towards, possible risks she was creating by her project story. So if you don't have anyone like this, I definitely recommend you to attend some of the good trainings that are on the market. And of course, good quality information is never, I'm doing this for free, so it's difficult. It's weird to say it, but generally I'm anyway telling you kind of basic introduction. They really give you in-depth view into what the call means and what kind of approach is good to take in order to be competitive. And as I said at the beginning, the competition is really, really strong. I think when I checked this information on the call from 2021, they mentioned something like more than 8,000 projects were evaluated during this call. And of course, it was a kind of extreme situation because it was a COVID. So people had time and there was a lot of uncertainty. So people were searching for additional funding. But yeah, if you are like in the situation like we are in the Czech Republic, so money is now quite limited for research. So people try to search more and more for external funding. So I think there will always be a big competition. So if you want to really be realistic when it comes to competitiveness of your project, it is really helpful to get at the beginning as much inspiring information as possible. So I know that Lotte Jaspers and her Yellow Research is going to have an online training on postdoctoral fellowship the next week, which is wonderful. So again, if you have money, in your budget at your home institution, I definitely recommend this, because I just, well, I can't imagine that I would be able to get that far without these trainings, because they really provided me with so much information and knowledge from areas which I myself would never be able to access, because I simply didn't have that many clients, and I didn't have that many clients from international environment. Plus, of course, my connections to the European Commissions are limited, and they have much better networks. So their knowledge is really valuable and definitely worth the money. So this is the idea with which I would like to end. I really had to smile, as I said, when I saw what Alena was recommending me when it came to her brochure. I said, wow, you're Lotte Jaspers and Yellow Research. So I think, because honestly, I can see that she has helped to many people. So this is the smallest thing you can do for the success of your project, to attend some of these excellent trainings. So either I would recommend, I personally had experience with Yellow Research or with Hyperion from Ireland, so it's up to you which you prefer. Both of them were excellent, and I chose Yellow Research because I know that their training is going to be the next week. So that was all from me for now. I hope I didn't make it too long, and well, I hope there were not that many language mistakes. I tried always, but well, as you see, I'm not native, and at the moment I have some kind of well, things I have to finish at the moment, so I'm a little bit more busy than otherwise. But I thought, because the call is open and this is really the highest time to start to work on your project proposal, I thought I should record something, even though I'm not that well prepared. But I thought, okay, I can at least give you some kind of guidance, probably help, an explanation why certain parts of the information are at the beginning more important than the others, and why it is also so important not to get lost at the beginning, because some information really can navigate your thinking much better than starting to read all the general documents. Please don't do that. They are really long, and you might, well, kind of be discouraged from the whole writing process. So again, I think this was the reason why Alena was so happy with the booklet, because the people who created the booklet did all the reading before you, and they kind of transformed these abstract terms into something a little bit more tangible for the research community. So, well, that's all from me for today. Thank you very much for your attention. And well, if you feel like I should explain more or some other concepts, really please do write into comment section, because I really need some kind of output, some kind of input, so that I could produce output that make some kind of sense, not to waste my free time for nothing. So anyway, thank you very much for attention. Please, if you have questions, ask, and I have some more ideas on what I would like to record, but I will see whether there is going to be some demand on this knowledge or not. Thank you very much for today, and see you some other time.